Welcome to Dice Daydreams, the Epilogue.
Today we're going to lay all the details bare and show you the honey sweet story of this last campaign.
I'm Lewis Stardust.
I'm Anna Margaret.
And I'm Ian. And today we're talking about Honey Heist, Deadly Beesness.
Wasn't it pretty obvious from my descriptions that it was bears and honey?
Wasn't it also obvious that we have a lot of emotions ready to go?
Okay, cut!
We're leaving that before the cut. All right, everyone. So we're talking today about my first time in the GM seat for this show, and our first main cast GMing, right? Yeah.
Because we do say we are a rotating group of GMs, which hasn't happened yet. Our first episode was a guest, but we just wanted to air it that way because we thought it was a really fun episode.
You know, I think it was kind of cool having our first episode really showcase all three of us as players.
I agree.
And I think that it's really fun. I know that, I can be a bit of a type A person.
What?
And so I know. Me? And so it's kind of funny, how different it feels to be in the GM seat versus being a player.
Definitely.
And, the amount of prep's different, and it also just showcases our personalities in a different way.
Totally.
And I thought it was so cool, seeing you, GM, because this was actually my first time playing with you as the GM.
Yeah.
That's
So
something
true.
we talked about too. We were saying we should maybe have time to play just a quick game together before we launch the channel, and we didn't. We just went right into it.
What is time?
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, I mean, it was nerve-wracking in the best way just because I've always loved to run games. I'm a huge fan of non-traditional game settings. And so Honey Heist being so open, so free-form, so improv. I talked about this last episode. Improv is my background. So Honey Heist just being, here's this environment, but the rest of it's just let the players have fun, It's so cool.
And I was so not used to that because I am so used to more of a type A type of game.
Yeah.
And when you're it's a one-pager. And I was like, you would think I would know
Lua
what more
just kept asking for more of the rules.
I was like, just need information and stuff. He's like, it's literally on the page. And I'm like, yeah, but what is actually happening?
Where's the rest of this page?
Right.
It felt weird to me because I when I make a character, I should show you my book sometime.
Yeah.
I literally write out their favorite things, how their outfit's described, their fears, their ambitions. I write out a full-fledged thing, even if it's for a one-shot. And I got a bear and nothing else. And I knew there was crime and honey, and that was all I had to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite parts about a game like this is you get to just do whatever. But I also understand playing such traditional systems, you're no, there's an entire 100-page rules. And no, it's a single page. It's just the one.
It is nice though. It is nice
Yeah.
to have everything on one page. So
Something that I really loved about this, and I don't know, I'm curious to know how much you thought we would do this, but the idea of Honey Heist is that it's happening at this convention.
Yeah.
And every single player we had is a frequent con guest and attendee. We had the three of us, and then we also had Parker Bliss and Yoggoth.
Yeah.
And both of the two of them are also cosplayers
Yep.
and frequent convention goers.
Yeah, absolutely.
or they also work, so they know
Yeah.
the behind the scenes of the space, which
Yes.
is something that's really exciting.
I think all five of us have been guests, worked conventions, and just attended for
yeah,
fun.
there
And
was
we-
definitely a little bit of inside
was
baseball
gonna
there for
say,
sure.
We definitely try to manipulate the DM into letting us do things
Yeah.
based on our history and knowledge.
Did
Yeah.
you expect that? Was that a surprise?
Of course, it's the both of you. I definitely expected some sort of shenanigans to at least have that little bit of tickling to go on, because I know especially Lua, Parker, and I had very recently worked several cons together, all in a row, back to back to
We
back.
spent 6 weeks together.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was
Did a whole con circuit?
Yeah, literally. And I was I know for a fact there are things that are going to be in this very goofy map that I threw together that I was these are going to be extremely evocative to things we have all lived through unanimously together.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, one of our guests, Parker, alluded to the pile of chairs that appear at the corner of a convention
my
center
gosh.
hall.
But we all knew it when she
I
said
knew it.
it.
Yeah.
I could picture what she was saying with the pile of chairs. And speaking of Parker and Yogg, they're the coolest.
Yes, absolutely.
They've done so many cool cosplays, and it was really cool having them be a part of the game.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And let's learn a little bit about both of them right now.
Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Parker Bliss. I'm a cosplayer, vocalist, and TTRPG enthusiast, and you can find me all over the internet at Parker Bliss.
Hey there, everyone. My name's Yogg, or Yoggoth all over the internet. I do Magic the Gathering cosplay, content, and a little bit of everything. You can find me on all social media sites at YogGoth.
I will say I also really loved Yog and Parker's, everybody's characters too.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure what the two of them would bring to the table, and it was absolute chaos. That is what they brought to the table.
It's so true. And like I know them as people, but as game players, we got to play with Yog one time before. And then have you ever done a game with Parker?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
Parker, I don't know. We play so many games together. Have we?
That's so funny.
Parker's one of my very best friends.
I know.
I have roped Parker into playing Magic the Gathering with me.
You do like
I have
fantasy?
roped Parker into playing Universes with me.
Yep.
I have dragged Parker into a freezing cold pool in my garage to do mermaid photos. I think it's probably, but I can't come up with it off the top of my head.
That's wild. Yeah. And then
This is the danger of living within an hour of my location. Whatever crazy ideas I get.
just full mad scientist.
You're in.
Yeah. And we played one game with Yog before, which was a fun little Fallout one shot that we played, which was very, very fun. And so I knew a little bit of what to expect with Yog, but he just brings it. Honestly, I was so excited.
Yeah. So just to like talk about our characters real quick.
Yeah.
I went with a character that was like kind of like an old grizzly, like old man
Yeah.
who's just like really like at his like last heist. He smokes cigars. I made this whole entire idea and concept for this old man bear, and Yog does his thing before me, and it's like the same character except way cooler. It's like the John Wick of bears in comparison, but like an old man.
The voice he used.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, he just like really transformed this character, and I was sitting there laughing because I was like, I have a bunch of cigars on me too. So it just became this thing of like me and him as like the two old men were like on the adventure, didn't want to do heist anymore, but like came back in for it. He was kind of like, yeah, I'll still do this. My accent changed 65 times throughout the game. It changed the entire
You had
game.
a bold shot, right? Like you took a big bold shot with that character, and you know I think it made it funnier every time you were like, "This is not the accent I chose."
And it just kept going and going. But I did like because the two of us got to riff a lot, and I think like you and I got to riff a lot because you were my granddaughter.
Guys, I have to say, one of the highlights of this game for me was as people who do a lot of like content creation, having us introduce an entire side plot of becoming social media stars
Yes! Oh my
was
gosh.
so funny.
I adored it. I was like, if you had told me at the beginning of the campaign that your agenda as an antagonist attempts to literally kill you was to get him canceled on Instagram, I was like, I would not have believed
would
you.
like to point out we were successful
Yeah,
in destroying his life.
Yeah, I believe you canceled him and then gave him a giant wedgie was the conclusion.
Yeah.
His life, his livelihood, his life was his influence. And what are you if you destroy your reputation?
No, I get it.
I will say Parker brought a lot to helping us become successful. Bear,
Yes.
what were furries? Is that what it was? Like furries that before like TikTok style things. But also Parker's accent throughout the
Yes,
whole
loved it.
game as this what was a badger, a honey badger.
Honey badger.
Had me crying. It was really hard to
agree.
not break throughout the entire game. And I think
Yeah.
it just added like this fun little balance of like two grumpy old men, a young girl just trying to go out for her first heist,
Yeah.
and then this like very sassy honey badger. It was just perfect.
The dynamic between the group, I was like, this is a very chaotic dynamic, and I'm so grateful because as a chaotic GM and as a chaotic player myself, I was like, this is a world where we are going to just swim in a pool of absurdism, and everyone said, oh, I get the mission, I get the assignment, lock it in.
Speaking of absurd, kind of, I feel like me and Anna Margaret were really channeling like this, not like absurd, but just like really trying to get you to work with us on those flashbacks.
Oh my
so
God, the
if
two
you're
of
going
you.
to introduce a mechanic, then I will use the mechanic you
If
introduced.
there's only a page of rules, I only have to think of one page of things to break.
yeah, and so something
I will break an 100-page rule book. Don't try me.
But you would do the most perfect drop-ins to try to get us that moment to bring us
I'd
back.
like to say they were really smooth and natural.
They were really smooth and natural. However,
As the person who went back and watched all the footage
so
to edit
smooth
it.
and natural, of course. Yeah.
however, I will say, I don't know if anybody caught my awful flashback scene.
My
But I
favorite.
feel like you gave her credit for that line.
You just look confused. Everybody looked at me like I was crazy because I sat there and I was like, ooh, I'm going to get a flashback scene so I can get something that's useful for us. And I went on a tangent about being like an old circus bear
performer
and like how I escaped. And I felt like that was really good for my character. But Ian was just kind of like, okay.
Once again,
Ian.
if y'all are going to try and break the one page of rules, I'm going to hold you accountable to the one page. And the one page says the flashbacks have to be about planning the crime. And you were like, and I was a circus boy. And and you were so locked into the story. And I was like, that's a cool backstory. Anyway,
he escaped for a better life, and it was a better life of crime.
Yeah,
and we talk about this once a week.
It made for a beautiful story, and it also made for me to like, because I think it was Yog who mentioned that sounds like the story someone says right before they're about to die, and that's what gave me the idea to like have this trope where you almost die multiple times throughout the episode.
There's always these like lead-ins you do where it feels like a moment that I've had because it was my last heist, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna retire, my granddaughter's gonna take over, and you led these like really perfect moments that felt like any moment it could be death for me. Which was really, really funny. I enjoyed that.
Well, it's funny too because I had absolutely planned because this bit had come up of like, Smokey, I was like, okay, well, now that we've established this bit where he's going to die soon, I'm just going to keep layering it in there. And there was the laser grid. And I was like, I can't wait for you to go through the laser grid. I'm going to have it just pop off and like have one of the lasers reactivate, go by your face or whatever. And then you never walked through the laser grid. And I was like, no.
I was too busy being an influencer in the green
absolutely.
room.
We had a lot going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But speaking of plans that didn't manifest,
yes.
something I thought was really interesting is after we played this game, you talked about how you had an entirely separate heist team that just never came up.
Yeah, so I'm the kind of player who, I've tried to establish like this I like my games to have the possibility of literally anything can happen, right? So a lot of the times, like a lot of that mentality is like you establish a threat map of like things that can go wrong for the players, enemies they might face, et cetera, and things that are always going to happen, whether they're in the room or not, right? Like there was a whole concert that happened that you guys were well out of the room that happened. And there was a seminar on like taxidermy and all these crazy things that I had like established were happening. But I was like, but you never have to go there, you know?
I kind of wanted to.
Yeah. And so then now there's this reality where I have an entire B team of another team of bears that was also going to try and rob this secret recipe. And it ended up being, I was like, the pace of this game is moving so beautifully. I'm not going to just interrupt the narrative that you're all creating together. And there were enough natural problems that came about that I was like, there is absolutely no need to establish this other B team.
We were rolling so well.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, Parker was the taxidermy throughout the game, so we did get hints of like other things that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, there. As I said, like there's the whole other thing. Like I had like 18 things written down about BMO, the bee mascot, and I was like, BMO literally never came up. I was like, BMO was such an important part of this, and I was like, BMO was never there.
I want to say as a player though, from the early beginning of this game, I called this man out.
Leslie.
We knew Leslie was bad.
We were like,
from the beginning.
Like,
I thought
so
you guys
weird.
just thought Leslie was annoying.
No.
No.
That's what I was like, why is he here?
No.
Like, I don't trust him. And you thought it was more of like that kind of thing, which I just thought was so crazy. But yeah, for we were really like,
I feel like there were definitely comments where we questioned Leslie.
Yeah.
It felt like one of those things where when you brought it up, I wasn't sure if you were questioning me as a GM, like, why is this idiot character? Is it just because you want to do a voice?
No. It was good. He was bad guy. Because I think I even asked him at one point, I was like, what do you get out of this? And he was like, I don't know, money.
You did ask.
Yeah. So I was like, this seems like
I
a big
did
thing.
the stinger into the camera like 6 times and revenge, and everyone was like, all right, this guy's weird. I was like, and revenge, and everyone was like, yeah, all right, Ian's doing the weird absurdism thing, right? Like, it's just and genuinely, the reaction all of you had when the plot twist reveals that he actually murders his boss, it was so priceless. I always love to have at least one big, even if it's the most absurd game in the world, some sort of big twist or big plot change, and everyone's reactions, and even when the cameras shut off, everyone was like, are you kidding me? It was amazing. I loved it.
Oh man, one of my other favorite moments was earlier in the game when me and Anna were shopping around and we got the honey sticks, and I forgot they were honey sticks. So when we were getting chased by the cops after the murder scene,
There were 2 scenes we forgot about the honey sticks.
Yeah.
Because first we buy honey sticks, and then remember, if you have more honey, you gain stats in bear, and you were already almost full bear.
Oh yeah, I was
And
almost
so
full bear a lot.
We almost accidentally made you like a full bear.
Full bear.
Well, because I was getting frustrated as not like to be clear, I'm never mad at the table, but this is my fiance, and he knows how to mess with me in games. So he would say stuff, and I'd be like, "What do you mean?" I'd be like, "Oh my god, no, I'm going to bear," and like it was just like.
And then, so we decided, okay, we should not eat these. You'll just become full bear.
But I wanted to use them to stop the cops behind me, and I forgot they were honey sticks, like little sticks, and not
Just
giant
imagining
jars.
these little sticks just like running like.
Those honey sticks were out to get us.
Oh my
specifically.
goodness.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was rough.
amazing. I got to talk about one of my favorite scenes, which was Yogg pretending to be a security guard and getting chastised by his boss about aggressively smoking cigars in a convention center,
Yeah.
and him just doing his best to play it so cool.
He was quite an experience.
Oh my god.
The mask.
Yeah, sneezing through his face mask too.
Oh my god.
You know, we're obviously real people and there's schedules and timing and things that's happening. And so I think another kind of interesting thing about this game was that we had a time crunch with Parker needing to get to the airport.
Yeah.
Yes, as many have noticed, Parker was kidnapped in the middle of the campaign.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of Hollywood magic, and Parker actually ended up having to leave around Act 2, which is why you see Parker get scooped up by one of the security guards, even though rolling a successful roll, right? But also finding that space where success came with some danger too. And I thought, I thought
that was handled. You handled that really well.
I appreciate it. I do, and I think it ended up working out really well. And I do love the idea that we established multiple text messages from her character throughout the campaign, and then the idea of her just casually sitting outside, just on her phone, when are you guys going to pick me up?
Well, that felt
fit
like
her
her
character
character.
so
It
much.
did
It did.
really fit her character.
Yeah.
Although it was funny because we then conclude and we meet back up with her, and it took me an extra minute to be like, what? Who are we picking up? Oh my god!
Yeah.
Our
Absolutely.
teammate.
Yeah. So what did y'all think? Because I'm actually a big fan of these systems where there is almost a 2-act system, which is establish some sort of plan and have a lot of these natural interactions where you get to sort of learn these characters while also, for example, prepping for this heist, right? So you're prepping, but also there's so many moments where it's it feels like that moment in D&D when you're in the inn for the first time, right?
Yeah,
and you're
true.
meeting these characters, and so you get to meet these characters, and then we go, okay, and now TM the mission, right? So what did y'all think of playing a system like that?
So I love the planning part, and I think that there's this trope with D&D that you plan this elaborate thing and then nothing goes the way you plan.
Right.
But I honestly feel sometimes leaning into tropes is such a fun
Yeah.
way to play. It's a trope for a reason because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so I think us forming this elaborate plan or overlapping plans and then seeing will any of this happen?
Yeah.
Or what will go wrong? I really enjoy that. Although I think you
I was
had a
gonna
really
say-
funny reaction.
So, because I didn't know it was gonna go that way. I honestly am so used to
did you read the one page of
I kind of did, but I didn't realize I didn't for when we've been talking about how many episodes things are going to be. I didn't know if it was 1, 2, 3, depending
Right.
on what we were doing. So I thought we would go through the planning a little bit quicker and then start with something at the con, but not the full episode.
Right.
So I was like, why are we still planning? Are we supposed to be doing this stuff? I thought we figured everything out. And it made it did make sense to lay out where the car was and all these things. And I actually did think that was a really brilliant way to role play and balance each other's stories and kind of set the scene for what was going to happen. I actually really love that.
Yeah.
But I should have maybe read my paper better because I was like, oh my God, we're planning for so long.
Yeah.
Did I do something wrong? Did I mess up? Is the GM hiding a secret that we don't know? And that was just kind of on me
And
as a player. I
Actually,
think.
I thought it was really cute and funny.
Yeah. It's one of those times that I, as a GM, get to go and now I'm really having fun with my players. I get to just basically go, all right, so this is the idea we're sticking with, and everyone goes, wait, no, let's
I
just take a
sure?
second, let's just check. wait, we threw paint at the wall, but let me make sure it's the actual paint we want to, finish this wall with. And there were so many brilliant moments with that, with the security van, and with who are we gonna
Our crafting.
Yeah.
even taking out the security guard and that turning into something where Parker bit the Achilles heel of the security guard, and he's bleeding out in the trash can with Yogg. And it's we have this plan, and oh my God, there's so many ways that it can go wrong.
Yeah. Especially a convention where there's supposed to be lots of people,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we luckily did not come across too much of that.
Yep.
But there could have been a moment where that would be even more chaos too. Wind up being a really fun system, and I enjoyed playing that one a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one pages leave so much in this fun environment of, now we've had 2 games. We've had a traditional D&D environment modded to fit the Pokemon environment, and now we've had this game, which is a single piece of paper, which if anything confused you more than the analogs of Dungeons and Dragons.
Honestly, true. Yeah. I needed the substance, even though it was still there for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now that we've sort of had almost 2 extremes, right? I'm so excited to see like what the future holds for these games for us.
To be clear, I've played other tabletop games. I'm just not a single page, and this is brand new information for me. I'm used to a vast
actually,
world.
it somehow worked really well, though, that, like, the old bear would be like, wait, what?
Yeah, perfect. I meant to do it.
It was in character.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was just well done acting.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say I loved the dynamic of you 2 trying to team up on me every 3 seconds and just being
So
like,
fun.
oh, we really are going to try and game the system with this flashback right now. And me having to be like the stern dad of like, I see what you're doing. There's like 2 rules in this game and you can't break these 2 rules.
But we can.
Oh, and you
we
absolutely
tried.
can, right?
Yeah.
And
We
it's so
can.
funny because there's one mechanic, it's all about the story, and you're like, but we're going to break that mechanic, darn it.
But you know what? I am that kind of person that will be like, GM, don't you think this situation would be so good with advantage or inspiration? Or like, I'll like, if I really feel like it, I won't do it in a moment to be like annoying or rude. And I want to be respectful to my GM always.
Of course.
But if I really feel like it could work and I could really butter that situation up, I'm going to try.
You're a little impish. It's okay.
It's good. But, it's interesting because you bring up this point about, like, the mechanics driving the story. And I think that, like, the reason that we're even playing a role-playing game versus just role-playing with friends. I mean, I have my fair share of just random role-play films I made with my friends growing up. But, like, the reason you're using a role-playing system is because of how these mechanics influence and change the story.
So true.
I think that, like, as when I'm a GM, I only ever want to ask for a role if I want it to be able to go multiple directions.
Right.
I think that, like, in these types of systems, especially when there's fewer mechanics, it can be really fun to see, like, how does that change the story?
Yeah.
And I think in this game in particular, we had a few dice rolls that really changed the story.
Gosh, yeah.
And I think that, like, those types of situations are really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love failing. I think it's sometimes more interesting and more fun than succeeding.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even for example, like with the fail with creating your social media account, it wasn't, well, you guys did a bad job and you don't have a social media presence. It was just, no, like spam bots are filling your comments full of grotesque things. You're doing the thing that you want to do, but it's horrifying. And think about how many
what
moments.
cost?
Yeah, the rest of the campaign where like the person at the front desk like went to look at your profile and then saw all the comments and the thing where they're like, oh, okay, y'all, just like take the badges, please, and get out of here. Just it informs so many moments as you move forward.
Sorry, this game was just so fun. I keep thinking about it and I'm like chuckling in my head in moments and things that we've done in it. It's just been really great to share it finally, and I really just enjoyed having Yog and Parker together at the table. They really just worked together really, really well.
I think it was a really great group. And I think that the tone was just so light and fun, and it was really good to explore.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's very different from our next episode.
Yes, absolutely. I will say we have a GM coming up who can be as chaotic, but definitely also takes us to some very dark, realistic places, and I'm so excited for it.
Oh, you all are in for a treat. Should we preview it?
I'll say it's pretty rootin' and tootin'.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a little bit of shooting.
And with that,
Check it out.
The soil of the West is fed by 2 things: greed and blood.
Well, damn, everybody, it's popping in here.
Sheriff of Avery Bluff, and my name's Cassidy, Arizona.
Slutty lady whistle down.
Punches and people flying.
All right, thanks for making time for me, Sheriff.
I definitely do the double saloon door push.
I don't know, you ain't my problem.